workshop we are having here at the Next Media Park, but also moving into the showcasing of key national content achievements. And we will also, Idrissa Alia was speaking to Morton Gill, and we have both engineers who are joining us and also head of public relations, but she's a business enthusiast. We have so much time, I'll cut her. So Yvonne, you're starting off this conversation. All right. I'm not so sure, Morton Gill, Uganda since June.
I hope we are all okay. So my name is Yvonne Nalinya, as I've been introduced, and I'm an engineer with Motor Angel, Uganda. To tell us more about the national content. Yeah. So to begin, I'll start by speaking a bit about who we are as Motor Angel. So Motor Angel, formerly Motor Ancia, was founded in 1946 by Manuel Antonio de Mota in Portugal, but with our first operation starting in Angola. So we began our first works in Portugal in 1975. And in 2000, Motor Ancia, the Motor family acquired Angel, and therefore we merged Motor Ancia to form Motor Angel. So with regards to the Ugandan market, Motor Angel started in Uganda in 2014. That's with the capacity improvement of the Kampala Northern Bypass. And at the moment, we have 4 main running projects, one of which is the Kampala Northern Bypass, then the civil works and rehabilitation of the Shaka Katunguru project, the Northeast Road Asset Management project, and then the industrial area site preparation works for the Tilenga project. So to focus mainly on the Tilenga project. So the Tilenga, the industrial area for Tilenga is a huge platform. It's 300 hectares of land. And to put it in a layman's language, a hectare is the size of a soccer field. So 300 hectares is 300 soccer fields, which is quite a huge platform. Yeah. So earlier this year, Motor Angel was awarded this contract by Total. And our contract value is estimated at about $38.4 million US. So what we have to do on this huge platform is we have to construct a 100-meter tarmac road to access the industrial area. Then we have that huge 300-hectare industrial area. Then we have to do a 7.1-kilometer fence around this area and about 13 kilometers of internal roads. Yeah. So moving on to the next slide is just a simple image of the access road, which will be 100 meters of tarmac road. And then for the industrial area, the 300-hectare piece of land, we have a couple of platforms. We have the construction camps, that is construction camp A and B. And as was mentioned earlier, we've managed to complete one of these construction camps and have handed it over to Total. We have the operation support base, we have the operation camp, we have the drilling support base, and then most importantly, we have the central processing facility. So the industrial area is the works that we as Motor are doing right now. At the moment, we've managed to do 100% of the clearing and grabbing. The entire place was a bush, and right now it's fully cleared. We've done 84% of the topsoil removal. And at the moment, our major concentration is the cut and fill activities, which are ongoing. We've done 23% of the cut and 21% of the fill. So the CCA is the area that we've completed and have handed over to Total for further works. Regarding the fence, like I earlier mentioned, we have to do a 7.1-kilometer fence around this industrial area. So far, we've done about 2.4 kilometers of the fence. And then we have the 12 interior roads that we have to complete. Majority of these roads are Maram roads, but we have a few asphalt stroke tarmac roads involved in the works. And just a few images. The first image is an image of the construction camp that was handed over to McDermott. Then we have a few fill activities ongoing. Like I said, it's purely an earthworks project. Yeah. So still more images of fill activities, excavation works that are ongoing. As part of the project, we've mobilized quite a bit of equipment. We have 259 equipment on site, which is quite a lot in one concentrated area. Yeah? And I'm happy to say that, as Total earlier pointed out, safety is of importance to Motor. And that, thank you for listening. At this point, I'll pass on to Estella to speak more regarding the national content. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Estella, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about national content and our achievements. As more being said, national content is not something that is new to us. It is something that we hold true to our company's ethos. So with over 8,000 local workers across Africa, national content is one of contractors, man hours, trainings, as well as capacity building. So for the subcontractors element of it all, we've made sure that we've subcontracted companies that are going to aid us in completing our project at the fastest time possible. Companies like Civtech Africa, which has come in to help us with earthworks. Civtech has taken up certain portions, which is also doing a lot of Pearl Engineering has come in to do it's not the thing, it's the, yes, Pearl Engineering has helped with the 7-kilometer fence, and Prand has helped with, there's an external drainage. It borders outside of the site. So there's a big chunk of drainage that needs to be dug up and constructed, and that's where the company has come in. Then we also have Resonate and fabrication systems. Those companies have come in, they've helped build structures, service providers such as Saracen and EcoSave. Saracen we know is a security company. EcoSave is it's a waste management company. So we're also working with companies like Fulcrum, Victoria Equipment, and Mantruck. And all of these have also come in to aid with the equipment that we have on site. There's also over there's the Albertine water, and that is water that we're sourcing from the area, because if you know, Bulisa is a very hot space. So carrying on to manpower, we have over 281 employees on site, on ground. And of that, 92% of them are national content, which is great. From the local community, we have 53% of those individuals in the affected area, in the villages around the site, the project site. So as manpower is a very important element of local content, and it's something we know that Ugandans are very interested in knowing. We have 3 areas in which we do our recruitment. So for the skilled labor, we have our it's a national opportunity. So it is not for a specific area, like for example, the unskilled labor, which we make sure we source most of our unskilled labor from the villages around the affected area. For the semi-skilled labor, that is locally advertised, but we really focus on recruiting in the affected area, the regions. So that's Noya, Hoima, Bulisa, Masindi, and Pakwach. For the unskilled labor, we have a process that was actually developed by Total during the exploration phase. It is called the ballot box system. And the system really leaves the community feeling feeling very engaged in the process. It's very inclusive, it's very transparent, it gives equal opportunity across the board. And it's just basically what happens during this process is our team recognizes a need. Our HR reaches out to the local community. We also reach out to our contractor, which is Total. We gather the individuals in the areas. We brief them on these opportunities. We also emphasize the need for a national ID for this process, this recruitment. Once they come and they're briefed and they're interested in taking on this opportunity, they are given a form to fill. Once they've filled out that form, there's an area on the form that's a ballot box, a ballot paper. It has the individual's name. They throw it in these boxes, and they are picked randomly. And this is basically the process of the ballot box.
Yeah. And what they do.
So going into trainings, trainings are something that is very necessary, basically just to help to aid with the knowledge transfer. So at Mota Angel, we do a couple of trainings. These are just to mention a few. There's what we call the Last Planner system, and that basically helps with project planning and implementation and execution. There's also firefighting, first aid, health and safety. Of course, the craft trainings where we work with welders and others. So there's the welders, the electricians, and the mechanics. There's also laboratory trainings, there's quantity surveyor trainings, and environmental trainings. Over here is an interesting element of training that we also go through, which is the toolbox trainings. And these toolbox talks happen every morning. They are routine training, and they basically emphasize the need for safety and health across the board. Then an element of capacity building is an element that we, as Mota Angel, do for the capacity building, is a program that we call Start at ME. So Mota Angel has defined this as our corporate induction program, which targets young postgraduates to enhance and promote several initiatives aimed at capacity building, transfer of knowledge, technology, technical know-how, and skills related to petroleum activities, which is actually quite an interesting fact. Is Yvonne, who spoke earlier, is actually an alumni from the Start Me project here at Mota Angel. At the moment, there are 9 individuals who you can see over in this picture, and each of them is a recruit for this year's Start at ME. Each of them is actually just an interesting story. Each of them has been given a letter, and because we believe this entire process is a process for growth, but it is also one of unity. And when you come and you join Mota, it is a family. And we hope that each of these young individuals can continue the program till the end. The highs, the lows, they must all share it amongst themselves. That, as well as the skills that they will learn on the job. So finally, we were requested to give some tips for the contract execution. And first things first, this is a zero tolerance project, which basically means that we must follow all the rules and procedures during this entire project. Health and safety and the environment is something of highest importance, but most importantly is organization. So not just the organization of the company internally, but even our contractor and across the board. Organization is of high importance. So with those few words, I would like to say thank you for listening to our presentation, and that was Mota Angel Uganda.
Thank you very much, Estella and Yvonne. Do stay with us online because we may have a question or two for you much later if the time does allow. I'll quickly move to the experience. We'll try and restrict ourselves to the time we've been given because we've taken a cover. Thank you so much for joining us. From the General Manager. And finally, KK Security Services, Robinson Mwanda, the General Manager. All right. I hope this project on what services you're offering.
Yeah, 5. So we have about 26 years experience working in Uganda. In terms of ownership, we are fully owned by a French-Canadian firm called Gardewald. Gardewald is the largest privately owned security company where we operate. In Uganda here, we are employing close to 3,000 security professionals and Ugandans. Of course, the nature of our job takes national content and the local content very seriously because it's the local people who are able to get local security solutions that we may face. And for the project, our scope, we've been awarded by Total from 1st of May this year. We got an award of initial phase of about $2.4 million for provision of security services to secure Total Energy's assets in Kampala and the campsites. And that's
our scope of work. We we've cleared. We had to clear. We're basically building replacement houses for the affected population in the area, and we are clearing the sites and constructing the houses. That's basically it. The civil part.
You don't have to overlean in. That's fine. In terms of your experience,
100% Ugandan. We were registered in 1997, and we have over the years been working for and with the oil industry, mainly Total and Shell, USAID. These have been our main clientele.
all right.
Good morning, viewers. Just a small correction, though. My name is Patrice, not Patrick. Us 70s babies were named after freedom fighters.
Yes.
Yeah, so my name's Patrice Aliakai. I'm representing action work. In this particular project, our scope is the same as like well pads, central processing facility, flow lines, pipelines, feeder lines. So all that infrastructure needs land to sit on. So as a result, people are being displaced from their homes, and Total has a resettlement action plan, which is designed to give people who have been displaced a decent home in a good location, and so we're constructing those homes.
All right.
On behalf of the project management team from Atacama Consulting. Atacama Consulting is the resettlement and social services contractor for the Tilenga project that was established in 2004, but our journey with oil and gas dates back as far as 2010. So we've been working with the big boys for over a decade now. And our scope basically is resettlement planning and implementation. So as the gentleman said, Patrice said, the facilities need land. And as you heard from Mark Diamond, who have been given the CPF, that's our role, is to acquire that land from the owners who are the locals. Yes, ensure that they have the fair, prompt, adequate compensation, and that the livelihood restoration measures are in place to help them move on as the project takes foot. That's it.
All right, so I'll start with you again, Robinson, because we are speaking to national content and the clear experience of you, the partners on this project. And so I want to ask especially how your project or your organization is working, especially.
Yeah, so we of course have quite a number of goods and services, and we expect to employ at least 325 security professionals for the Total Energies project. So far, we've only mobilized 47 because, of course, the project is at the initial stage, which is of course, we tracking the man hours that we are going to input. We are looking at 7 million man hours for the project period. So far, we've done 101,000. In terms of goods and services, we are working with several vendors who we have already vetted and guided them on what vendors to supply goods. If you wonder why 17, I mean, if you look at a KK security officer, you know, from the top to bottom, he has a uniform which has to be supplied by a Ugandan company. He has a safety boot. He has a helmet. Someone has a PR-24, which is a baton that he carries. We have whistles, which we have to buy from the local companies. And of course, we have other equipment that we have already procured, like vehicles, which we had to procure locally here from our partners, Toyota Uganda. We've also been able to pass on a bit of training to the security professionals that we work with. In terms of numbers, we committed to you do the initial major training to the trainers in terms of guard basic course for the security job, firefighting, first aid, defensive driving for the drivers. Initially, one of the speakers here, Barbara, mentioned about issues that will come up in the community because of the influx of many people. We preparing our people, our staff, in terms of key for this project. And what I forgot to mention is we, in terms of the procurement of goods, we also have services that we procure, medical services. We have insurance partners who have insured of our operations and our assets. We have on monthly basis, due to the current pandemic situation, we have partners who are helping us with COVID tests, because for the project, for you to mobilize into the project, you have to ensure that the staff are safe and everyone else at the project is safe. We have transport partners who are helping us ferry people in and out of the site on monthly basis because of the rotation plans. So we're doing quite a lot, Maurice, in terms of local content.
All right.
And national content.
Okay. I'll, if I find time, I'll come back to you on a couple of other things. But Patrice, I wanted to just ask you the same question in terms of your.
Yes, it's actually quite interesting. Things you need is manual labor. So we have a village where the house is being built. So what that means is these houses are spread over a large area, and each village where a house is being built, we're going to go and employ people from that particular village. We're going to give tea, gender-based violence, HIV/AIDS, all that kind of awareness, so that then in terms of materials, all the construction materials we're getting from within the region. So, all the things like aggregate, sand, cement, hardware materials, we're getting from hardware suppliers, raw material suppliers who are based. The local communities are benefiting directly because about all our procurements, except
What Patrice is saying.
Yeah, we relate with what Patrice is saying.
yeah, about 160
60
people.
personnel, about 40% of that.
A bit different. You're dealing with resettlement and land acquisition to allow them feel like they've actually got a good deal out of.
Execution of our mandate, stakeholder engagement is key, as you said. We do engage a lot with the communities. But our first and I think biggest achievement is create, you can know or imagine, opportunity beyond the impact, yeah, as the gentlemen have noticed. Execution of our role. Goods and services, as the gentleman said, the project is in Uganda, is in country. 98% of our goods are procured from Uganda, and majority from within Bulisa and Hoima and Kikube districts, and from the communities. And when we talk about employment, many people, skilled people on our team, yeah, who are part of the stakeholder engagement team, who are in managerial positions, who go out there on a daily, yes, to spread the awareness about the project. Quarterly national content workshops in the 3 districts and Total, to highlight to them what needs to happen, when and where. And as the previous speakers, from us, the message has always been the illusion of time. People always think, I'll form a joint venture, collect yourselves, start doing the paperwork, yeah? And as you see, Atacama Consulting is ISO certified, and we offer training, and we have offered ourselves as to the stakeholders. Come to us if you want to know some of these things. How do you get ISO certified? Because the industry is very demanding. As you heard, the Mark Damon's oil and gas, yes, safety. So how do you beat, or how do you qualify for these big players to come and say, oh, we want to work with this person? So that
I'll definitely now, spread the questions over the 4 of you. But Patrick begins the conversation on the achievements on Tilenga. As a content supplier.
Yeah, just as I mentioned, first of all, the first key achievement we've had is employment opportunities to Ugandan nationals to supply the supply chain into our operations in terms of goods and services. That is also key. And for the local communities, we are also the project area. We've already done several recruitment exercises around the Tilenga area to employ security professionals with the right experience to be able to, in terms of capacity building of our people. There are new courses that, especially in terms of health and safety, VPSHR, and also the protection against sexual exploitation and abuse. Yeah.
All right, Patrice. Lessons learned while implementing, the project itself. I'm sure there is.
That we've got out of this project is the importance of stakeholder engagement. You are rented accommodation and so on. You find that there are so many touch points with the local community. So it's critical. That will help you not only achieve your deliverables with Total, but when you leave things we've really picked out from this is stakeholder engagement.
All right. Joshua, feel free if you want to start with the lessons learned, but I had wanted you to, share your experience in terms of what somebody else, any other local partner, what should they be doing to be able to capture the attention of the contractors on the project?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. First and foremost, you should register with the national opportunities. They're always advertised. Put in your EOI, expression of interest. Understand the job. What are you required?
That's been a challenge sometimes when you're preparing some of the documentation in the way we do our things. And
Yes.
so you miss out on an opportunity because you just didn't follow the
You didn't
due
follow the
protocols. Yes,
instructions.
yes.
Yeah. You didn't follow because their document is quite detailed. If you follow to be considered for the job, and also understanding, then
And you have to be competitive too.
yeah, you have to be competitive.
Price competitive, yes.
Price competitive. Our desk on national content. It's a very. It looks complicated when you look at their documentation. It's really, daunting.
Yes.
HSE.
Yes.
He said they can give. They're always. They're really. You see, there's a lot of support. They want respond well. If you don't, then you miss the opportunity.
Supplier or person interested in working on this project?
Yes, thank you, Maurice. I think I'll go back to lessons learned to start with. What we've learned over the years, we started probably to others, is empowerment of our societies and our people starts with us highlighting their strengths and the opportunities, because many a time we have a message of what we are doing, but it leaves out the person down in Karanwango or the person down in Kasinyi village. So what? Yeah, you're a farm that comes from Kampala, you're taking it all. But highlighting the strength they have as a community, that's one. And then the other one, lessons that we've learned is around collaboration, people to work together. And in our case, under resettlement planning, we work closely with the businesses. And let's face it, if it's Maurice, more people listen. Yes,
You may not be right. Go on.
We get a lot more. And then finally, as Patrice said, the advance party, we're on ground before all these guys come. It is the easiest engagement, yes, and the right message of engagement, using the right people, using the right tools. And Pete, I think the starting point is belief. Whether you believe you can participate in this oil and gas industry or not, you're right.
All right.
Just speaking from what Patrick has said, after you believe, just what it takes to get into such a supply, either of goods or services. And then once you get the bid document from Total, as my colleagues have alluded, it's not an from the company, because they have a very good way of assisting you where you don't understand and clarifying what is not clear. But the last thing is compliance. There are several issues that many bidders ignore, especially the statutory compliance with the local government that the assist to NSSF. Make sure you registered with NSD at the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and after that you go for the best price.
Joseph Mwanja and Robinson Mwenda on their experiences as awarded gas sector, but that after this very short break.
Considers national content as a key component for the success of its operations, and Total Energies EP Uganda is no exception. Total Energies EP Uganda therefore developed a national content strategy aimed at maximizing the use of content regulations of Uganda. Subsequently, the company has undertaken a number of initiatives aimed at ensuring that Ugandan companies, entities, and citizens are adequately equipped to participate in the oil and gas sector. Some of these initiatives in gas in Uganda, as well as available opportunities and national content needs and processes to help them meet the anticipated demand of the project, while
the answers to the pre-qualification questionnaires, for example. It's during such forums that we get to explain in order for them to go back and be able to participate competitively in our tendering processes.
in March 2018, the company East African crude oil pipeline areas, in 2G, 3G, and 4G, and 6G coded welding, hence developing a domestically supervised by the GIZ E4D SOGA program, and the development of the Industry Enhancement Center. Total Energies EP Uganda part in the overall development of the oil project in Uganda.
Suppliers Development Workshop, and we want to thank you so much for joining us. For any of our local content or national content suppliers to be able to participate, not just in the Tilenga project, but in the entire oil and gas sector. So we want to welcome you, and if you're just joining us, you've missed quite my panel, and these are Manpower Agency, Chizito, because you're married to Ugandan, who's the general manager, and also from Q Sourcing, Patrick Mbonye, and I hope Elizabeth is with us, and also Abdu Chibuka, the CEO, True North. Abdu, thank you for joining us. And finally, Benjamin Mulinde, the technical expert, GIZ E4D project. So thank you very much in this conversation in the oil and gas sector, because you play quite...
Agencies, basically, so we provide competent personnel to Total in this case. And we have to do it in a manner that is compliant with the Petroleum Authority. Yeah.
All right. I'll get so many questions in if we're all as brief as really. Patrick, let me also ask you this similar recruitment that you're doing as Manpower Agencies.
Yeah, there's a lot more that we do, and that is to do with helping the country to create some order. Opportunities exist. The question is, do people know what opportunities exist? Because everyone just knows there.
All right. Abdul, I'll come to you now. And Patrick, you'll get the mic closer. A highly skilled space, and that you're not just providing recruitment opportunities, but you're also building capacity within these institutions.
Thank you very much, Maurice. Yeah, we have working at Coca-Cola in manufacturing, and you tell them there's an opportunity with McDermott. They don't know. They don't have a clue who McDermott is, what their role is in the industry. We have a responsibility for, as employment companies, and gas, and the other way around. So we have a responsibility to create in training people to be ready to be deployed to the field. And many of us are engaged in those activities and are looking for partners who can actually help in that regard. And that's why I'm happy that you have multiple players here in this space. I think if I may just speak, if you allow me to speak slightly broadly, one of the things that is likely to happen to this, all the skills required for oil and gas, and we're going to get people from other industries, again with the right type of people, and looking for people that we can partner with.
Benjamin, I'll come to you a little later. Let me start with you, Aurelie.
Has an HR plan, Total and their contractors. So when the needs arise, this is now our role to source for the right people. So we're going to go into the social CVs to the agencies. So the agencies then will have job descriptions. So we submit the CVs to Total as per the deadline. That's very important. We need to decide who they're going to interview and select. Yeah, and then after that we start the induction process and make sure that the people are going to be working there for a long time.
And most important, every dot.
Exactly. And a very important point is like agencies, yeah.
All right. So Elizabeth is now with us. Elizabeth Ntege, the CEO NFT Consult. Elizabeth, similar question around recruitment on these projects under Total Energies. Yes.
My apologies for not being able to join you, but I should be back. I'm currently out of the country, but I should be back this week. So with regards to recruitment, similar to what has been shared by CEO, yeah, we all do this, companies and other suppliers within the industry. And I believe there was a presentation about the ballot box recruitment within the community that is very much encouraged so that we can engage the community in selecting who is hired and working in that environment. So yeah, similar to that, there's a lot of work that goes around in terms of transparency, in terms of qualification, but just a case of being part of this, the whole recruitment process. So it's quite timely, but it's very transparent, and it's our role to ensure that Ugandans get these opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Benjamin, I want to come to you on the King as a technical expert in this area. What are these opportunities that Uganda?
Thanks, our viewers. First of all, I'm on a panel which is full of recruitment firms.
Yes.
I have to make clear that we are not a recruitment agency,
True.
but of course we synergize a lot because without trained people, they can't have people to match to companies or to sell. Need to equip people. We started in 2015. That was the biggest challenge. Across the region, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and Mozambique, hydrocarbons have been discovered. They were moving into oil production at that time. It was participation in local content had just been made by the sector and what is on the ground. So we set out that had been identified in the capacity 2020. We are now in our current phase, but very briefly on what we've been doing, was to have the skills, but also in the companies to have the standards and operation and our lack of readiness. But we are glad that we have done a lot working with the different partners. So over the last 5 or 6 years of our existence, we have trained over 6,000 people. Government agencies here on their books, and then they can either sell them or market them to the companies. We have supported over 700 SMEs, companies, and some of the many companies that have been presenting. 5 years ago, the landscape was very different. There was no culture of safety. There were no people who were internationally certified, so it was a very huge gap. We have made some steps. There's still a lot of work to do putting in place health, safety, and environment standards as we go ahead. But briefly, that's what we have done in the last 5 years, and also to make sure that we have at least a pool of people that are ready to participate in the sector.
Thank you very much. Abdu, I want to come to you on, and maybe sharing the numbers, because when you look at both during the construction phase and approximately another 900 jobs during the operations phase, indirect employment of up to 47,000, but someone is watching and saying...
And they are going to happen in phases. So the first thing is for the individual to understand what their skill set is. So if you're a maintenance engineer, this is probably not your immediate mason. This is the time for you to wake up and say, this time when your skill set best lends itself to the construction phase, then you are going to miss the boat. So construction phase, and what can I do in that phase? The problem is many people think about a big value chain. So if you have a big construction project, it is going to employ so many drivers, so many masons. They may never drive a pickup or truck for the oil and gas phase. It's not any different from a construction of a large civil project like Karuma. The requirements are the same for most. So I think the jobs are very many. They'll be different at each stage. Even within core oil and gas jobs in terms of engineering, if you're a petroleum engineer, this is the planning phase. It is not yet an operational phase. So you have to ask yourself, which of these jobs will come to me now and which ones will come in future, which also lends you to training. Because there are going to be jobs after construction now as a geologist, knowing that in 3 years from now, I will have qualified as a geologist, and the production will start for the next 30 years, I'll be employed as a geologist. So don't lose hope and say, I need to actually find a job that is in the, what can I do in that space? Is that where I want to play? Or I want to get jobs that are going to actually outlast the construction phase, which are now the sort of core petroleum operations type roles. So, and again, look for the information from the agencies that will keep advertising and the mainstream players. And that is maybe might confuse a few people because they'll see an agency like True North Advertising or Q Sourcing or CO, then they'll see the contractor, say McDermott or Sinopec advertising. Then they see the licensee also advertising. And the jobs are going to be similar. So they might get confused and say, okay, where do I go for what? You can always seek guidance from us. That is part of our job, and I think Patrick alluded to it. We can guide you, but the key thing is do what is within your means. If the main licensor advertises, you apply. If a subcontractor advertises, you apply. If it's an agency, you apply. The key thing is, and again, there's also a platform that has been built by the government, which you shouldn't forget, which is the Oil and Gas Sector Skills Talent Register. Register your CV, your profile with any of the agencies.
And someone watching is wondering, where do I register my skill set?
Now, all these agencies which are here, we all have websites. They are open to people to register their CVs, at least whether solicited or unsolicited. But for the random Google search for National Oil and Gas Talent Register, you'll get it. If you do a random search for the end of the agencies on this platform, it should lead you to where you can register and put your CV. And usually there's a contact on someone who can guide you on which type of roles that you are best suited for.
All right. Patrick, similar question, if you want to speak to that, but also the early employment opportunities, because we're now in the construction phase. What sort of skill set are we looking at?
Yes. So as Abdul mentioned, there are different phases that are needed in the construction sector. This is the time to make sure that you align what you can do with the opportunities that are there. We look for oil and gas standard certificates. So these so that when you go to an oil and gas operation or to any of these operational sites, you are not tripping over wires for safety concerns and things like that. Or you may have practiced, you're a welder, you're an electrician, asked for at this stage. And when I say specific on the materials that are being used, on the procedure that you're going to follow, if you have not conducted that procedure, the onus is on the guys who want to get employed. Find out, don't read newspapers, anything that has oil and gas title you're opening to read. I mean, it's your time, but if you are in construction, you are a welder, you are a mason, there are skills. I think the POU is trying to make sure that it's available everywhere. We had some welders whom were training from Katwe and Sospan or something like that, right? But you're going to use, they don't want you to be a rich man that is tens of millions of dollars. They do not want that to happen there. So what is your response? And if you want information, you can either go to the PAU, Google is your friend, as they say, right? Google, where can I get these
skills development initiatives? And Elizabeth, similar in the sector.
Okay, so first we're really trying hard to be a resource center. They want to enter the energy sectors. So one of the initiatives, that we have a training center in Butema that is near Hoima, where people can, feel free to approach us, and then we can guide them on what is going to be required for them to work in the sector with Total or others. And then on top of that, a lot of defensive driving trainings, because we need drivers from there, from Noya, from Hoima, from Pakwach, and so on. But they need to increase on their skills. So we are going to drivers. So those are some of the initiatives.
All right. Elizabeth, similar question, skills development initiatives? Yes, I can.
Yeah, mostly what we're working them in what they need to have and in place with regards to supplying into the oil and gas sector. With our own workers, we of course follow a very detailed employee training plan. They come with some basic skills, and then we just add on to that, similar to what they say, things like defensive driving, health and safety training, quality assurance, those kind of things that are necessary over and above the skills that come on board. But our main focus is actually supporting other businesses into getting into the oil and gas sector. Thank you.
Or in terms of developing and preparing us to be ready for what's coming from construction phase, of course, into operations. Where are the gaps and how are we going to address this?
Yeah, thanks very much, Maurice. That's a good question. First of all, it's important to note that information is a big problem for people to know where they should be skilled. As you know, we have had the numbers. The demand is huge, probably 150,000. So we need to train a lot of people. But I can also say that it's not enough to reorient the whole country training system to focus on that. So it's very important that we look at sustainability and beyond oil and gas. So most of the projects we are focusing on at the moment are looking to meeting that need, but also to ensure that the general economy is not left hanging. So one of the measures we are taking to ensure that information is there, because as I told you, we had capacity needs analysis developed in 2015. 2015, there were no EPC contractors on the ground. Many of the operators with specific manpower needs were not yet on the ground. Currently, we have them. So with the partners, the Ministry of Energy, the government, Ministry of Education, and the oil and gas sector, we have come up, or they contacted us to support an update of that capacity needs analysis, which was done in 2015. So right now, we have a project running, which is updating that capacity needs analysis, which is going to come up with specifics so that we don't have to make their lives hard to either guess or to speculate. So we have a team of international consultants who are working with oil. You will need how many scaffolders, how many pipe fitters, so that we don't shoot blindly, as you say. So that project is going on now. At the end of the year, we'll have result of that project, which will be a report specifying exactly skills along the construction. But even before that, of course, the oil industry is quite known. You know there will be construction, all the construction skills along the train companies on ISO certifications and different standards. So while we wait for the results of the capacity, in terms of what gaps, I can say that the capacity needs analysis of 2015 provides some information, but let's wait for the new update to be very specific to know where.
This has been quite an insightful conversation. I guess the reason Total Energies continues to bring these conversations on board is to provide as much information as we've been sharing here. So I want to thank you, Abdu, Patrick, Benjamin, Ureli, and Elizabeth, who is joining us online for this panel discussion on employment opportunities and skills development for the oil and gas sector, which really wraps up our conversation today. This supplier development workshop brought to you by Total Energies. A fantastic conversation on where we are at on the Tilenga project and the opportunities therein for all of us, so the operations phase that we will be going into. So we want to thank you, all of you, for joining us. Those who watched, hope to see you again tomorrow on the ECOP conversation. All right, that from all of us and the panelists and, of course, the senior team here at Total Energies, we want to thank you and also thank Next Media Services for providing us this platform. Good afternoon.